everybody, Samantha here. Welcome to the first ever Melt and Pour Soap YouTube collaboration event. All of the collaboration videos are now live and available on this special collaboration playlist. There will be a link at the end of this video so you can go on and continue to watch all the other videos. All of the collaborators have worked incredibly hard to bring you their videos tonight. So I ask that you please watch all the videos in the special collaboration playlist. Give the videos that you watch a thumbs up. And if you like the content from a certain creator, then please subscribe to their channel so you can see more from them in the future. All right, now it's time to get started. So here is my video. So the theme for my collaboration video today is New Year, New Technique. And I made these gorgeous, colorful soaps with a new technique that I've been thinking about for a while, and I really wanted to give it a go. I think it worked. I think they came out beautifully and they were, what I was aiming to achieve. So basically it's a two-layered soap, a layer of clear and a layer of black. And in between, I don't know if you can see here, is a painted layer of mica over, a textured print. You can kind of see that layer of pink in between there. And the way it was done was by using a soap mold, a typical melt and pour soap mold, with a technique that I like to call a half mold flip. My plan is to do a number of videos this year using this new technique to really showcase how it works and what you can do with it. And it'll be part of another special series on my YouTube channel. So this is the soap mold that I used to make my soaps. It's a pretty common soap mold. I think a lot of you will probably already own it. Very easy to find online. But the reason I chose to go with this is because it's basically the epitome of a mold that works perfectly for this technique. So it has symmetrical shaped cavities. Your soap mold must have symmetrical cavities for this technique to work. But what I love about this mold also is the beautiful details and designs that imprint into the soap. Because the design is raised in the mold, it means that the soap that comes out will have the imprint of the design in it, and that is something that also is going to make it work perfectly for this technique. So I'm going to get started so I can show you what I mean. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up each cavity halfway with transparent melt and pour soap. So I'm using the Stephenson brand of melt and pour soap base here. They're standard transparent, which is ST is the code. So each cavity holds about 100 grams. I've got 6 cavities. So I am doing 50 grams for each, which is 300 grams of soap. I've also added 20 to 30 grams extra for wastage, and I've melted that in the microwave. So as you can see, this soap isn't looking terribly transparent. That's because I've overheated it slightly, and it's full of thousands of teeny tiny little bubbles, which are actually rising to the surface now as a kind of a foam. But that's okay. If I just let it sit for a bit, a lot of those bubbles will sort of rise and pop by themselves, and the soap will become a little bit more transparent. I'm also going to add 1 drop of just some blue liquid soap coloring here. I don't know if you even saw that. I did put 1 drop in there. There we go. I'll give that a stir. This will just help bring out the clarity of the soap also. As you can see there, it's gone from having a sort of yellow grayish tinge to now having a much clearer, blue tinge. Alrighty. So I'm going to use this little measuring cup here to measure out the amounts I need to fill up my soap. Normally I'd try and put the tray on top of the scales and fill each one with 50 grams. I think this is a much easier way to do it. I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner, honestly, the amount of times I've done this. So I've just got this little glass measuring cup here, and I am weighing out 50 grams. I'm also giving the soap mold a really good spray with isopropyl alcohol. And what that's going to do is it's going to stop any air bubbles getting trapped to the surface of the design, the raised design. Sometimes some little air bubbles can get trapped down there, and then that affects the design because it's got a little bubble in it. So giving the mold a good spray with your alcohol before you pour is the perfect way to make sure that doesn't happen. So as you can see, my soap base has got a little bit more transparent as it's been allowed to sit. I'm just going to weigh out another 50 grams here. I'm also just giving the soap a little, oh, that was a little bit too much. Giving the soap a little spray with the alcohol before I pour it, just to get rid of those surface bubbles there. And then spraying the cavity again. I'm moving on to the oval shaped cavities. All right, there we go. And now the next one. This is so much easier. I can't believe I didn't think of this before. So much easier than trying to weigh it out with the mold sitting on the tray, sitting on top of the scales. And also if I do too much, I can just tip it back in. So much easier. There we go. I've tipped that in there. Give that a spray. So I've noticed there's a little bit of foam sitting on top here. So I'm just going to pull off this skin. So you see how what I've pulled out there is just a little bit foamy. And therefore this will now be a lot clearer now that I've gotten all that foam that was sitting on the surface off. There we go. And I will continue filling up my mold cavities halfway. So this is the half part of the half mold flip technique. Filling up the mold halfway, which I've nearly finished now. There we go. Give that a bit of a spray. There's a little bit of foam sitting here, not as much, but as you can see, it's just once the skin forms, it's quite easy just to pick that foam off. There we go. There was hardly any on that one. And the clarity, it really improves the clarity of the soap just to skim that foam off the top. All right, so here is my very last one. As you can see, the soap base is beautifully transparent now that it's been allowed to sit for a while. There's no foam anymore in the last two ones that I've poured, so I don't need to pull off any of the skin or anything here. I can just leave that. There we go. And I'm just tipping out the excess that I had left over because I can use that again. Okay, so here we are now. I've let it sit for a while. It is completely set, firm to the touch, still a little bit warm, but that's okay. You can see the clarity here. You can see the pattern through the soap. So it's come out quite clear, which is good. I'm now just going to demold all these soap halves that I've just made. Just going to pop them out here. Oh, yeah, I probably should have put a little bit less in the oval ones because they 50 grams was a little bit too much because they're obviously slightly less than 100 grams because they're the oval shape. I'm also just cleaning my mold up a bit because I'll need that again soon. Okay, so here is the soap. As you can see, it has the beautiful pattern embossed in the front. On the back, I've got a little wispy bit where I pulled away the foamy skin. But also around the whole soap, there's just sort of turned up edges where the soap met the edge of the soap mold. And what I'm going to do, the next step in this technique, is to actually bevel those edges off. You'll also notice that the different sides of the soap have different clarities. The side that was down inside the soap mold is a little bit frosted, and that's just because of the texture of the surface of the soap mold, which can absolutely affect the clarity of your soap. The clearest side of your soap will always be the side that's exposed to the open air, not the side that's touching silicone. So always keep that in mind when you're trying to do really transparent soaps. All right, I'm going to keep these little bits. I'm going to pop these back inside my little glass cup so I can reuse them later. There we go. Okay, so the next step in this technique is the flip part. So I'm going to take the half soaps that I've made, flip them over and put them back into the mold. And the reason, that's why we beveled the edges. So we beveled the edges so these will sit nice and flat against the bottom of the mold. There we go. Push those down as far as they can go. So we've done our half mold and we've done our flip. So the next part of this technique is to dry brush the surface of these soaps with the prettiest mica colours we can find. So I've got 6 colours here, a different colour for each soap. I've just chosen the 6 colours of the colour wheel. And I've got these little pots of mica, which I will be using. I also have a bunch of eyeshadow brushes. So I bought a pack of 10 online. And I find eyeshadow brushes are just perfect for use with mica. And if you think about it, it makes sense because eyeshadow is a powder, mica is a powder. So these brushes are just really good at holding onto the mica, but they're also really good at letting the mica go when you want to dab it onto the surface of your soap. So I've got a bunch of these that I can use today as well. All right, I'm just going to get myself organized. I'm also going to bring over this collection of mica colors here. I actually mixed all these mica colors together myself. If you haven't seen my mica mixing video, I absolutely recommend it. I'll put a link in the description of this video. But what I'm going to do is just to give a little bit more depth to the colors of each of my soap is I'm going to pick 3 or 4 colors in the same hue. So for example, here I've got my yellow, I've got a pastel yellow, I've got an orange yellow, and this is like a golden yellow. This is yellow mixed with gold. And I'm going to use all of those together. Now I'm also going to try and match my colors to an appropriate picture. So I think I'm going to pick this one for the yellow because I feel like it kind of looks like the sun. So I think that would be good for yellow. I'm just opening up all my mica pots here. I've put down a paper towel because it's always good to protect your surface with a paper towel when you are using mica. Now you can see here that I'm more sort of blotting the surface of the soap rather than painting the surface of the soap. So because I'm dry brushing this, it's easier just to sort of blob it on to get good coverage. And I'm just alternating between all the different types of yellows I have here. Sometimes it's best to go around the edge with your darker colors, leave your lighter colors for the center. Just do like a little bit of the highlight colors and then make the rest of your soap predominantly that key color that we picked at the beginning. So that's what I'm doing here. All parts need to be covered. Make sure you've definitely got good coverage over the entirety of the soap. We can have a good look here. You can see that it is totally covered and glistening and sparkly and shiny, and I love it. Alrighty, there we go. So the next one I've chosen is to do the tree, and I've picked green. So I've got my my emerald green, pastel green. My dark color is an olive green. I just got rid of that. I had that bit of baking paper under there, which was making my mold slide all over the place. So I've just taken that away, and now it's not moving, which is so much better. And then for the oranges, I've got a pastel orange, an amber, as well as a darker vermilion to do around the edges there. So all these beautiful oranges. For the blue, I've actually got navy is my dark tone. Then I've got pastel blue. I've got a dark blue and also a lighter blue lagoon type of blue. For the reds, I've got a raspberry pink and a pastel pink, a dusty rose, and a beautiful red color here that I'm mixing it all in with. And last but not least, my purple. I've got my pastel purple, and I've got my violet and plum, I guess that is. Yeah, all coming together nicely there. Once you've finished doing your colouring, you just need to tap off any of the excess mica that might be sitting on the surface of the soap onto another paper towel. So how I do that is I just cover the soap mold. I'm just going to very carefully flip that over, give it a bit of a tap on the back just to shake off any of the loose mica, and then very carefully flip it back over the right way again. It's just good to get rid of any of the excess mica sitting on top so it doesn't mix into your next layer. So there we go. Alrighty, I also recommend before you do the next step that you just give your mold a little bit of a clean up. Grab yourself a damp cloth, or in my case, I'm actually using a baby wipe to just clean the mica off the sides of the mold where the mica is not supposed to be. Make sure you don't accidentally smudge the mica on your soap at the same time. But yeah, just give that a little bit of clean up. It'll save you some time later. Okay, now it is time for the final step, and that is to back all of these soaps with another darker color. I've just put in those little scraps that I had left over from the beveling, and I'm going to weigh out altogether another 300 grams. I'm not adding any extra for wastage this time round because I think I've got plenty, because I'll need a little bit less than 300 because of those oval shaped ones. Aren't quite the same size as the rectangular ones. Okay, so I've popped that in the microwave and I've melted it down. Not looking as foamy as the last time, which is good. This is looking quite perfect. I have some essential oil here that I'm going to use to scent the soap. I didn't scent the clear layer just to maintain the clarity, but I will scent the backing layer. I have some black mica here, which I am going to use to colour the soap. I'm going to mix some of this black mica in with my essential oil just to help it mix better into the soap. So there we go, just popping that in. I'll give that a good stir. I often have people ask me when I use black mica if it stains, like is it going to stain, my sink or my shower or whatever. And no is the answer. I really haven't used much at all, and I'll show you once I've stirred this, sort of what it looks like. But no, mica, when used in the appropriate amounts, does not stain. Some people also think that black is too harsh a color to use, and I mean, I get that. But to get the best results for this technique, the soaps need to be backed with a darker color. Now that could be a really dark purple, or that could be a really dark blue, but I've already used those colors here, so I needed a backing color that would work for all 6 of the colors that I've got. Now, as you can see, I'm just spooning up this soap, and the soap is actually still quite transparent. When I spoon some out, it's really not black at all. But what it is that the mica powder suspended in the soap blocks the transparency of the soap and makes it look a lot blacker than it actually is. All right, so I am pouring now the backing layers onto these soaps, and please notice what I am doing. Number 1 is I did not spray any alcohol before pouring this layer because it will smudge the mica. Number 2 is I am pouring onto a spoon to make sure that I don't pour too much in the one spot and smudge the mica. And number 3 is I'm moving the spoon around, again, making sure that I'm not pouring too much in the one spot, which will smudge the mica. So now that I've poured it, I'm just going to top up each cavity as much as I can. I don't really want any soap left over because I don't want to waste any. So I'm just going to do my best here to use up the rest of this. Here we go, a little bit more. Perfect. All right, yep, that'll do. And I'm going to give it a light spray with the alcohol now to get rid of any surface bubbles. That has made some of it overflow a little bit, but that doesn't matter. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this aside to set. Okay, so now it is time for the grand reveal. These are fully set. The mold's a bit of a mess, and so some of the soaps are a bit of a mess. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this. This is actually a cheese knife that I'm using here. And I find it's just best to cut all this stuff off before you demold your soaps. So then you can use like the soap mold as a guide and stuff like that. So I'm just going to pop these out. I'm going to keep them upside down because at this point I wasn't sure what they were going to look like. So this is sort of like a big reveal just for myself to see how they turned out. I was a little bit nervous. Let's have a look. Get all this out of the way. We don't need this. All right, so here we go. So the yellow one was the first one I did, the sun. Wow, look at that. That is so cool. So the image that would normally be embossed in the soap is now sort of jumping off the soap. It's sitting proud and highlighted by all of those colors. And the dark color behind it is what allows, you know, that design to sort of pop with the color there. There's a beautiful tree. This one was the orange, beautiful flower motif. I like that one, it's pretty. And this other one here was the blue. It was just sort of an abstract design, but it reminded me of water, so that's why I picked blue. That's very pretty, that one. Just nice and shiny, all different colors. This one is incredibly detailed, the butterfly, and then all the embellishments around it. That one is really impressive. Look at the detail on that. That is amazing. And then, of course, lastly, we had the love heart motif in the pink. Again, that's very detailed too, and it just makes that design pop. Well, I'm pretty happy with those. Yeah, can't complain. They came out pretty good. Okay, so here is my first example of the half mold flip technique, where I have taken a design that would normally sit on the surface of the soap and I've embedded it deep into the center of the soap. And what this means also is that as you use the soap, the design will always be visible. Because it's in the middle of the soap, it'll last until the soap turns into the tiniest sliver. You'll be able to see this gorgeous design on the soap as you use it. So that's really one of the great advantages of this technique, is sort of creating a soap that will maintain its beauty all the way to the very end of its use. So I really hope you enjoyed my tutorial today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you love what I do. Remember to catch the other videos in the collaboration event, and until next time, enjoy.